everybody. Tonight is January 28th, 2026. This is a meeting of the Carson City Planning Commission. Call the roll, please.
Chair Borders,
Here.
Vice Chair Crone, Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner DeChristopher, Commissioner Preston, Commissioner Peterson, Commissioner Pizel.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Commissioner Crone, will you lead us in the pledge?
Please stand. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The public is invited at this time to comment on any topic that relates to a matter over which this public body has supervision, control, jurisdiction, or advisory power, including any such item or matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. No action will be taken on the matter raised during this period of public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Hello, Denny. Please, if there is, please come forward. There's 2 seats. Go ahead and sign in. This is not for any item on the agenda. If you want to talk about an item that's on our agenda, you can wait till it comes up. Yes, go ahead. All right, Danny, go ahead.
Thank
Welcome
you,
back.
Chair. Well, thank you, Chair. Can I have that second back?
No?
Okay. Denny Frenchen, hello. I want that one back too. Anyhow, basically, I've been doing less walking and more driving. I'm getting back out walking, and so I hope to be able to enjoy some of the odd weather we're having right now that will allow that. I am concerned about what I've seen in my drive-abouts, however. I've seen walls that are way past what you would be considered a appropriate length for not having any diddle-wobs or moves in it, and they remedied that or got it passed by putting these facade fascia type things like a building's entry on those, and I'll get the addresses and stuff to you another time. But the main thing is I was disappointed to find that artificial turf is coming up with the new residences off of Silver Oak area in the lawns, and instead of having zero landscaping be maybe some natural rock or some sort of pollinator reliant or I'm a little more nervous than normal. Anyhow, plants that will really help sustain the insect life around here. Artificial turf is going to not only heat their area, and it's going to bother their trees, and it's not going to really be very warm or cuddly type situation. Cement, brick, stone, and there are several other things that are covering the earth now. And we just can't handle that. Besides, the streetways are wide and such. We just don't have available spaces for our water through the little rain we will soon be getting, I'm hoping. But we're looking at hot times. And when they're not hot, they're going to be cold times. As far as I've heard of weather and such, it's going to go from one extreme to others, and it's not going to be our natural seasonal type go-abouts. So I'd really like to encourage that we don't allow artificial turf. I mean, stone with the proper straining and weed protection underneath would still allow the water to penetrate it, and it would still provide for the trees around it and such. And I don't think people are understanding that doing that limits what their trees are getting with their natural watering. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the fact that you're still all at it, and thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kathleen Beasley. I already submitted a letter, but I wanted to speak to a couple of more points. I'm a resident of the Prison Hill area, and I drive east. Oh, I'm sorry. And so I'm speaking about the state's request to be excluded from the master plan. I drive east on East 5th and Route almost daily. I play bridge at the senior center. I volunteer at Browser Books. My best friend lives in the Sea Hill section. So I feel like out of all the places I don't know in this town, that's one I happen to know really well. And it bothers me a great deal uh, to see the state want to be excluded from actually some very, very minor requirements. And so I want to thank the commission for holding firm in its last two meetings. And I'm going to encourage you to reject their request today. In my letter, I talked about finding one, which the staff seemed to find to be okay. They seemed to think you could find that this request was in compliance with that. I don't understand that because it definitely speaks to policies, and one of the key policies is for the downtown to have charm and pedestrian walkability and access. And so that is a policy that their request does not comply with. And so I think finding one is not something you can find that they're in substantial compliance with. Finding three, I think everyone seems to understand that the conditions just haven't changed that much. So I won't reiterate what I said in the letter. But the most important part to me is if you allow them to wiggle out from under this policy now, then you have set a precedent for when other big projects come along, specifically the Hop and May Adams Foundation proposal for the downtown area. And that would really worry me. And so I guess I wanted to emphasize that many of us moved here. I'm sorry, I'm not a native, but many of us moved here. We didn't move to Reno. We didn't move to Las Vegas. I could have moved to anywhere in the world. I chose here because of the Kit Carson Trail and the historic homes. So I'm a nerd. But I moved here. I've lived in California where you can't build anything. I've lived in Texas where you can build anything you want, and it shows. So I was hoping I picked a community where there would be rules that would allow you to do reasonable things. And that's all I'm asking you to do is stick with the rules and ask the state to comply. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Push the button until it's green. There you go.
Good evening. My name is Rick Garcia. I live at 64 Pilot Peak Road, Court, excuse me. And that's closest to the agenda item MPA 2025-0005. I originally asked for time to speak because I anticipated having to come up here and argue a point pro or con on that particular item. The reason that I'm here is to say thank you, and especially to Heather Monzo, because you have a civil servant that took the time to listen to a citizen that was unfamiliar. I've worked in city government for a long time, but never in planning. So I just didn't know about certain things. And she took the time to educate me. And I got to tell you, she sent me about a thick paragraph, and she taught me a lot real quick. and I appreciate it. And I think so do my neighbors. All the neighbors in that cul-de-sac were a little concerned because we got notified late. We didn't know what was happening until we talked to Heather or emailed Heather. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank Heather. So you're not going to get a complaint tonight. So thank you.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. We'll see what you do with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sandra Owens, and I'm here to speak about the Hop and Maze Foundation. I was told or under the understanding that it was on the agenda tonight, but since I hired somebody to cover for me at the bar, I'm going to go ahead and say what I have to say. So I just want to be very clear. I've read his proposal. On the outset, I support Mr. Neighbor's right to develop his property, and I agree that the development should proceed within the framework of the master plan. My concern is not with the development itself, but it's with how the project is structured and what it requires from the public in order for private phases to move forward. This proposal is broken into 3 phases, yet 2 and 3 cannot be accomplished without phase 1. This is the construction and the approval of the new city hall. This first phase is not a private decision. It commits the city and its residents to a 60,000 square foot city hall building with a parking structure, at least a cost of over $2 million a year for over 30 years before we even own the building. This is a significant and long-term public obligation. I struggle to understand the necessity of a building that size for a community of roughly 60,000 residents, particularly when most city services are now conducted online, and it's rarely a line at the city offices in person. If there's a legitimate need for expanded facilities, that need should be evaluated independently and transparently, not embedded as a prerequisite for multi-phase private development. Context matters. Residents were recently told by city leadership that because of tax sales increased and not passed, Carson City lacks sufficient funding for road maintenance. The conditions of our streets makes that clear, especially in residential areas where property owners are already paying for that infrastructure. Also, against that backdrop, committing to a 30-year obligation exceeding $2 million annually feels irresponsible and misaligns with the priorities residents are being told that we cannot afford. Residents are being asked to accept deteriorating infrastructure while simultaneously underwriting a long-term lease obligation. The contradiction deserves careful scrutiny before moving forward. I respectfully ask that the Commission to consider whether it's appropriate to tie private development phases to a public building commitment of this magnitude, and whether the need, scale, and timing of a new city hall has been truly justified to our community. So good planning is not just about what we can build, but it's about should it be built, when, and who's at expense for it. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment at this time? Okay.
I'm just going to sign in from last time.
Yeah, Danny, you only get one shot at it.
I just didn't get signed in.
All right. Agenda item 5A. Let's see. Minutes of the December 16th, 2025 meeting. What? Which one? Oh, yeah. Let me do it after this.
Okay, no, that's
Yeah. All right, is there any further additions or corrections to the minutes? We need a motion to approve. There. Motion by Commissioner Preston. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Brazel. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
I'll need to abstain. Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I'll need to abstain. I was not at the December 16th meeting.
Okay. Before we start on the agenda, I would like to mention the fact that we did receive a document from Bill to Wind on their research, and every member has a copy, so thank you for that. It's not on the agenda tonight. Okay, meeting item 6A, LU 2025-0410, discussion and possible action regarding a request from the Carson City Public Works for a special use permit to allow for the construction of a new 18,500 square foot tipping station and associated site work on the site zone public recreational located at the Carson City landfill, 3600 Flint Avenue, APN number 010-69102. Heather.
Good evening. Heather Manzo. Hello.
Yeah, yours are all turned down,
All
mine's
right.
turned up, so.
I'll sit close. Heather Manzo for the record. So this request is for a landfill tipping station, a new structure within the landfill site. As we can see from the overview here, the parcel is quite sizable. And the closest property line from the proposed building is about 240 feet away, which is that northern property line. So in the staff report, first paragraph under the project description is a description of what a tipping station is, which is essentially a roofed structure by which customers can come in and dump their trash at the landfill site. And then staff can sort the materials that are dumped at this site, sort them into trucks for distribution to appropriate areas for disposal. So with this, the proposed building is shown on the site, and there are some site improvements, including some access ways and some grading associated with it that are being proposed. Essentially, the site is already disturbed within this area. These improvements are really to just facilitate the new structure and to make improvements to existing disturbed areas within the landfill site. And the intent for Public Works to bring this forward is to consolidate customer access within the landfill area. Right now, customers have access to multiple places within the landfill property, and this will help consolidate customer access to this one location, and then staff can move about the materials that are placed here to where they need to go. And Guillermo Munoz is here with Public Works to answer any questions you may have about operations current and how they may look after this is online. So in terms of the structure, it's pretty basic in terms of what's proposed. It's a metal building with some openings and bays. And the proposed structure is 38 feet tall. And with that, because this is in a public regional zoning district, our code leaves the special use permit to define what the setbacks are going to be and also what the maximum building height will be. So condition 5 within the staff report recommends the parameters for which the setbacks and the maximum building height will be placed for this project. So staff is recommending approval of the request. I didn't receive any public comments on this, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
And the city's going to be the applicant?
Yes, the city's the applicant on this.
Okay. Are they here? Are there any questions for staff? Commissioner Cron.
Yeah, Guillermo, go back to the site plan, if you would, Heather. Help me just orientate myself. Where is the weigh station at in relationship to this project out there? The fee station, the weigh station.
Guillermo Munoz, Public Works. So the weigh station is not actually shown on this parcel. It's going to be on the parcel adjacent to it, to the north. You'll pass the fee station in order to get to this proposed building right here.
Okay, so this is actually in the land, so you do have to transverse that weigh station to get to this facility.
You do. It'll just make it easier for the residents of Carson, people who actually go to the landfill, just to drop off all their trash.
Okay. In the siting of the building, did you take into consideration the disc golf course and the RC model airplane facility?
I'm sorry, with the
siting of the building?
The siding that we have proposed is consistent with all the other facility buildings that we have around town, and that's what we based it on.
Oh, no, I guess, let me rephrase my question. Can you see this tipping station from the disc golf course and or the model airplane
No,
facility?
you shouldn't be able to. If, like anyone who's ever been to the landfill, you know when you go through the weigh station, you end up having to go further. So it ends up being like a little bit of a hole in the landfill, and it's already basically at the proposed level. Not much grading is going to change, so you will not be able to see it.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Bazell?
Thank you. Just a quick question. Will there be a separate area designated to drop off non-water-based paints and other materials such as that can't be immediately disposed of in the landfill?
Hazardous materials will have a separate station, and this will actually facilitate that because we'll be able to get better eyes on what's coming into the landfill. I know with a lot of like the landfill fires, a lot of hazardous materials which shouldn't go into landfill are getting disposed into landfill, so it'll help with all that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Preston?
I think this is a terrific idea. I lived in another municipality and I had a company that we did a lot of trash. The only thing that I would say on this one is that what we actually had is we had a metal barrier where you would back up to so that your vehicle couldn't go into the thing, because instead of just a yellow line. So some kind of a barrier, but you were still able to get your trash into the down area where you guys are sorting and cleaning. I think that it's a great idea because I also watch from my house, I see the landfill on fire a lot. And so it's a concern about whether or not that could actually go into the pinions. This will eliminate a lot of that. It'll eliminate a lot of the things that people hide when they go out and dump. So personally, I think it's a win. So thank you.
There are 5 conditions of approval. Have you read them and are they acceptable?
I did, and they are.
Okay. Is this a funded project?
Yes, locally funded.
Have you got the money?
We do.
And when are you going to start?
It's, well, we're hoping to put this out to bid relatively soon, hopefully this month. And depending on material lead times, it could go up anywhere this summer to late summer, start of construction.
Okay, so you think you're trying to be done by fall?
No, this will take over 200 working days.
Okay. All right. Mr. Brazil? Or, Cron.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, one last question, Guillermo. So as I understand it, or help me understand, but I think I understand it, is that they would come through the weigh station, the public would come through the weigh station, they would come to the tipping station, they would drop their trash off, so that they're not having access to anywhere else within the landfill. So this is basically where the public ends up, and everything else gets transferred by staff, city staff, is that right?
For the majority of the items that residents have, yes. The commercial players will still be able to go into the landfill and conduct business as usual, and a few other special players too. But for most residents and customers, this will be where they stop.
Okay, thank you.
Are all these roads paved or are
The,
they compressed?
we do have proposed pavement on this project, and you can see it in the shaded gray. It's hard
Yes.
to tell in here, but there are a few roads which are not paved, and we are leaving those be. But where the public can access, we want those to be paved.
Okay, so the gray in this site plan is all going to be paved.
Yep, and the road running east-west, that's going to be widened as a part of this project.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any further questions? Yes. Mr.
Hi,
Peterson,
Guillermo.
go ahead.
Hey, is this a drive-in, drive-out? You know, do cars actually go inside the building to dump, or do they like back up to it and just dump outside the building?
They will end up going into the enclosed structure, but there will be staff there at all times letting you know where you can dump and where you can't dump.
How many cars will it hold, like at once, if you're busy?
You know, as of right now, we haven't actually counted how many cars, but we have sizes to other similar size counties, and we expect it to not be an issue.
So you like would pull in and then back into the pile, just like you would outside at the dump? Is that kind of how that would work?
Exactly.
Yeah, cool, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Public comment?
Thank you, Chair. I utilize the dump on a monthly basis required because I have a waiver that allows me to do that, but I have to do it every month. And I've gone up there during weather where I'm soppy doopy in my tires or my vehicle comes down a mud pile. And I've been up there when it's been slippery and, yeah, as goose snot or poop, whichever way you want to go. The main thing is that this will be a relief to my tires. I've had 2 flat tires during the time that I've utilized the dump, and most of the time it's after a good rain and there's a good mud that holds those nails and such upright. My concern is that in a location that has a roof on it and has all of that, the debris and such that I usually breathe because of people dumping on one side or the other of me is going to go somewhere else. And if I plan well, I can be upwind of those situations. In a building, I'm not sure how far I'll be able to get out. Also, the vehicles that are used to push that into another unit or into a hole or whatever they're going to decide, that dumping space, are going to have to move past my little vehicle. And I am concerned about that. But I also am concerned about the fact that this is huge. This is going to be a big construction, and there was consideration that we're running out of space in their dump. And we've already had a new weight station put in that was a very big cost with the asphalt and different things that they did. That's a structure that should be there for ages. But as the dump space expands, those areas are going to have to be saved for the building. And I'm concerned because I just don't see how, I haven't gotten a clear picture of where the dump's going to move to, how big it's going to expand to, or where changes are going to be. But I've heard there are going to be big changes. And is the structure already set to be in an area that will no longer be helpful after the extension of the rest of the dump. So I just didn't get enough of a picture of the location. Like Vern, excuse me for using first names, but just not enough info to have a good decision on this. But it will save me a run up the hill, maybe not get the same view I do from up there, but thank you.
Any other comment? Nope. Well, you may, yeah.
Just to respond to a few of Denny's points, that facility is proposed as a part of the landfill master plan and to be fully functional throughout the expansion of the landfill as well.
Okay, and what's the length of time on the landfill?
The current service life
Mhm.
with the expansion, I couldn't give you an exact number right now. Do you know, Darren? Yeah.
More than 10 years? More than 20 years?
Yeah.
More than 30 years?
We have that land through the BLM that was given to the city. We plan to expand into that area, and that'll extend longevity for a long time.
All right. Longer than I'll be here. Okay. Any other comments from the board? How about a motion?
I'll move to approve the special use permit based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval contained in the staff report.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
All right. A motion by Commissioner Brazel, second by Commissioner DeChristopher. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
May I ask Guillermo a couple questions real quick? Similar related topic on the dump. It hasn't to do with the project. It's just a general question.
Maybe you can go talk to him when we're not here?
Oh, okay, because I was, the concern I had, or the concern, but he references a master plan, and it would be nice to get some information on that master plan. So, anyway.
Okay.
I'll circle back and I'll send that information to you, Vern. I don't have the information present with me right now.
No, that's okay. I'm just thinking, Denny brought up a lot of good points, and I think a lot of them had to do with what is the plan up there. And so I didn't know if that would be something that might be interesting for the commission to be involved with, or at least understand what is happening up there. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
LU 2025-0411, discussion and possible action regarding a request from Myers Pipeline for a special use permit to allow for outside storage of equipment and materials and a permanent placement of a metal storage container on two abutting parcels zoned Air Industrial Park located at 2451 and 2501 Arrowhead Drive, APN 005062-04 and 005-062-05. Heather.
Good evening, Heather Manzo again for the record. So this project was before the Planning Commission in July for outside storage. And at that time, because they had been operating outside of code conformance, there was a condition that required them to come in with their permit application within 30 days of the Planning Commission's approval, and then subsequently to commence construction of that permitted work within 6 months. The applicant noted that they inadvertently missed that 30-day timeline, and the permit application came in about 2 or 3 months after the Planning Commission approved the request, so the SUP had expired. So we are back before you this evening. The site is on the south side of Arrowhead Drive, and I did want to note, this is not in your packet. This is an updated site plan that was provided by the applicant a few days ago and provided as late material in yesterday's distribution and also available online. What this demonstrates, those 4 yellow pins show where the setback lines are in relation to either the parking areas or the outside storage. So what our code says is that when you have outside storage, it has to be outside of the required setbacks. And so one of the things that were out of compliance with our code is that the outside storage was right up against the fencing. So in discussions with the applicant, they have actually moved all of their outside storage to be outside of the setbacks as of this past weekend. So I visited the site this afternoon just to kind of get an idea. That the applicant had sent some pictures that were also provided in late material, but I couldn't get a sense of where the pictures were taken. So I went out to the site to just confirm what I was going to tell you to make sure I was correct in representing what's out on the site today. So everything's been moved out of the setbacks, and some road-based material has been placed where outside storage will be located. And the applicant has come in with their permit for the pavement, which is what that 30-day requirement would have required. So they have, in essence, complied with one of the conditions that's being presented before you this evening to apply for that permit. The hold that is placed on that is pending approval of the special use permit that's before you this evening. So where we're at today is the applicant is essentially getting into a really good place to be in conformance with the outside storage requirements as well as the conditions that had been previously placed on the project. However, the special use permit is still required in order for them to move forward. So in terms of the conditions that were previously placed on the project in July and what you have before you, they've been restructured a little bit. They're all still there, but I did want to note that conditions 7 through 9 on the previously approved project really had to do with the outside storage requirements. But in the previously approved project, we didn't have a timeline specifically associated to the outside storage compliance. It was tied to the site improvement permit. In this iteration, we actually have added a 60-day timeframe for bringing the site into compliance with the outside storage requirements so that we know that there's a date and time from the time the Planning Commission sees this that the applicant is required to come into conformance with the request that's before you this evening. Everything else is essentially similar or the same as what was before you in July. So with that said, staff is recommending approval of the request and the applicant is available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay. Excuse me, Heather, was it always one storage container? For some reason, I thought at one time it was 2.
There is one storage container.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here?
Chris Foster, Mears Pipeline.
All right. Chris, are you familiar with the 8 conditions of approval?
Yes, sir.
And are they acceptable?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Last time we were here, you guys were going to pave in the wintertime, and we questioned the fact of whether or not you could get it all done. And apparently we didn't, so here we are.
Yeah.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
So from a timing perspective, I know you've sent some pictures, and I think just for the public, since those pictures are there, could you kind of in your own mind, how you're going to make that timeline with the paving and with all the removals, just in your mind, how do you think it's going to lay out?
We've got the setback is met. The fencing is complete. The only thing outstanding is the paving of the parking area. The plan set is in for approval, just missing the SUP approval. Once that's done, weather allows, the paving will commence.
Okay, and you have a contractor in mind, or do you still have
Yes,
to
sir.
bid the project?
Yep, nope, everything's set and ready to go.
Ready
This
to go.
was
All
a
right.
error on my end and missing a date. That's why we're here again. That I wanted to see everyone one more time.
We love your smiling face.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment? Okay. Hearing none, let's come back and any further discussion, or is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry, Dennis.
Oh, no, it's my fault. The deal
you
is
were
I
slow on me.
didn't have access to that gentleman before or after this meeting, and I'm sorry I missed your presentation. I'm sure you could answer some of my questions later. But this was still relating to 6A?
No,
Okay, so I missed,
you missed it.
I missed it. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other public comment? All right, now I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make the motion. I move to approve the special use permit based on the findings and subjects of the conditions of approval contained in the staff report, and that has to do with, excuse me, LU-2025-0411.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Puzel. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks. Get paving. If you have any extra, the mayor's back there, she'll take it. All right, item 6C, MPA 2026-0004. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these in a row. I want to try and put a timeline to this because I'm not sure everybody understood it. I had to think about it. These are amendments to the master plan.
Right, I can speak to it briefly if you'd like.
Well, I can do it or you can do it. I'll screw it up, so go ahead.
I'm sure you'd be better. Okay, so in the past, we've always had our annual master plan report. And then based on that report, and you review it, you make a recommendation to the board takes action. And I've always taken that to be my to-do list. And so we've pursued either zoning amendments, master plan changes based on the board's direction in approving the master plan annual report. This year, because we had the new Title 18, I opened Title 18 and said, am I supposed to do anything different for the procedural due process? And what I read was that the board or the planning commission can initiate a master plan amendment, and they must do so via resolution. When that master plan amendment or that resolution is adopted, which initiates the master plan amendment, and think of that as the city making application, because the board doesn't make an application. So they pass a resolution that equates to if a private individual made an application. Then we only have 65 days to commence the meetings. So what happened was you all back in, I think, December, looked at the master plan annual report. You made a recommendation to the board. It went to the board in January with a list of changes, and you're not seeing the entirety of them because we only had so much bandwidth. So you have, I think, 3 master plan amendments, maybe 4 on your agenda this evening. And I think you have 2 that will be coming to your next meeting just because we couldn't get everything done for this meeting. And those are all coming before you based on the Board of Supervisors resolution, which think of that as the Board of Supervisors filed an application. And we had to move quickly because after 65 days, the resolution's null and void, so we would have to do it all over again. So hopefully that creates the framework, and on the substance, I'll let Heather Manzo speak to that.
Okay. So we're at 6C. MPA 2026-0004. Discussion and possible action regarding a resolution approving the master plan amendment and recommending approval of the amendment to the Board of Supervisors to change the master plan designation from industrial to public, quasi-public to quasi-public for all 13.91 acre parcel located at 3000 North Lampa Lane, Assessor's Parcel APN 008-922-31. Heather.
Thank you. Heather Manzo for the record. So as Hope alluded to, the board initiated the master plan amendment on this one. And so as the colored map shows you, the current master plan designation on the northern portion of this property is industrial. And the proposal is to change that northern piece to public, quasi-public to match the rest of the parcel. So as the Planning Commission may know and the public may not know, the city does not have a practice of leaving properties with split zoning and split master plan designations because in essence, it creates some confusion when properties move forward to develop with those 2 different designations. And so as we become aware of these situations, we do present them for possible map amendments. So that's why this one is before you now, is to create that consistency across the property with that public, quasi-public master plan designation.
And there's a church on there, right?
There's a church on the southern
This is
portion
all
of the
church
property.
property.
Yes. And so staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution and recommend to the Board of Supervisors to do the same and approve the master plan amendment as presented. I did receive a couple of phone calls just inquiring about the request. There were no comments in opposition or support. Just looking for clarification as to what was before the commission this evening. And I'm happy to take any questions as they arise.
Commissioner Pizell?
Thank you. Heather, just a quick question. And, because in my dealing in the profession, jurisdictions do it in different ways. Once you initiate a master plan amendment, some jurisdictions automatically follow up with a rezoning on the property. In this case, you've got again, you've got that split master plan land use designation, but the entire parcel is currently zoned for industrial uses. So at some point in time, so my question really is does Carson City require the applicant to come in with a rezoning following whatever occurs with this proposed amendment? Or will they come at a later point when they want to further develop on the property with a use that's accessory to or in coordination with the current use on the property?
So as Hope had mentioned, sometimes as we're doing the annual update, we do identify parcels that have some inconsistencies between the master plan and zoning, and we'll bring those forward for a potential zone change to be consistent with the master plan. So if this is one that sat maybe to next year, we do have a list already being built of several that do not have consistency. So this may end up on our list next year. If the owner of the property has a project in mind and they choose to move forward earlier than we would identify it to move forward, then that is something that the applicant or the owner could choose to file a zone change and move forward sooner.
Commissioner Crone?
Yeah, just a quick question. Was this something staff picked up, or did the church folks come forward and say, can we fix this problem?
We have met with the church over the past. What happened is there were 2 parcels, I think, and they did a lot consolidation. So where that line is now between the industrial and the PQP, that was a parcel separation. And so with the lot consolidation, it created the inconsistency on the overall parcel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and to answer, I think, Commissioner Pizell's question about when are we going to rezone all these things, as soon as we get a codified version of the Title 18, then we'll start that.
I'll just expand slightly. This one, I think your observation, Commissioner Pizell, is very good in that you should couple them. That's the better practice. What happened in this case is you'll recall that upon adoption of the master plan, what the Board of Supervisors said is in 90 days, we want you to do we want you to do these listening sessions, take it back to the Planning Commission in 90 days because we want to verify we got the map right. This was one of the ones which I think Heather Ferris, and working with the church on potential development on that site, identified that because there was the lot consolidation, we now had a split designation. And because this was sort of right in that 90-day period when the Board of Supervisors said, go do the listening sessions, talk to the community, make sure we got it right, we kind of had, our focus was 100% master plan. And I think that was a shortcoming on my part. And I should have brought the two together, but you're exactly right. But that was the background. And in fact, this commission did adopt a resolution to initiate a master plan amendment on the subject parcel. But since we didn't take action on it within 65 days, your resolution became null and void. So I took it to the Board of Supervisors and asked them to initiate, and they did.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Is there any public comment? None? Okay. Commissioner Pizell?
I'll move to adopt Resolution 2026 PCR1 and recommend to the Board of Supervisors approval of MPA 2026-0004 as presented.
All right, thank you. Is there a second? All right. Commissioner Preston seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. 6D. Heather, you're up for all these, aren't you? Discussion and possible action regarding a resolution approving the master plan amendment and recommending approval of the amendment to the Board of Supervisors to change the master plan designation from medium-density residential to open space for a 1.11 acre parcel located within the Lampa Ranch North specific plan area to the south of the southern terminus of the Pilot Peak Court, APN 004-422-23.
Thank you. And one last time, Heather Manzo for the record. So this is the one that the public commenter had spoken on before he left. And what it is when the Lampa Ranch specific plan was adopted, one of the requirements of that plan was that there are 3 major drainage ways that run east to west through this project. This is the most southern one. And because the development is being developed in phases, this is only a snippet of the overall drainage channel that runs through here. So with this parcel that was created within, I think, phase 1, now that it's been created and that drainage channel has been fully improved and the city has accepted it and said it meets, code requirements, we've accepted it, it now belongs to the city. It has a master plan designation of medium density residential. But because it now belongs to the city, that's an inappropriate master plan designation. So as you can see kind of on that left side along Solomon, we have a couple other drainage channels along that roadway that are designated open space, which is appropriate for these channels. So with this one, again, we're here as a city-owned property to redesignate this to open space to be consistent with other master plan designations for this type of use. So it's to create consistency with other city-owned drainage facilities within this area. So I did receive a couple of phone calls and emails, as the resident had noted, just looking for information, and no other requests for any information or notes of opposition. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution and recommend the board do the same and approve the master plan amendment.
Okay. And for all intents and purposes, this is still a drainage ditch, not a site for a multifamily.
Yeah, it is for drainage and will essentially
Yep.
stay that way
Okay.
for the long term.
Any discussion to staff? Okay.
Heather,
Cohen?
could you pull up that other slide again? So there are drainages like in the HDR. Is that something that when that comes through, although some of the development has already happened there, does that become open space as well, the connecting to it or not? Or am I not understanding that?
I'll go ahead and turn that over to Stephen in terms of the HDR piece, because that's multifamily.
Right.
So the multifamily piece, there is an easement for the drainage channel going through there, so it's not a separate parcel like
Okay.
this. And then just east of this, there's a future phase. Since that map hasn't recorded, again, that parcel hasn't been carved out yet. So those are future parcels that will have to get cleaned up at that point.
So this isn't necessarily becoming a landlocked little open space spot, I guess. Okay, all right. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any public comment?
Thank you, Chair. Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. My notes suggest that this area is a wetland and it's environmentally sensitive area. And I was just wondering, when you say open space, what activities besides basic trails that might go through it or some disruption? So I had more questions about that than I could find in my research. And also, those houses that are benefiting from having that great space behind them, we are going to be maintaining that land, is that correct? And so my thing is, if we are, there's no HMO, that will be covering any of those costs. And I apologize because my studies were limited on this particular item, but if that's something I could get answered later from Hope, that'd be great. Plus, I'm not sure there was a public comment option on 6C. And so I had some concerns about that piece, but we'll talk about that later too. Thank you.
Okay, Stephen, you want to say something? It's basically a bar ditch. What we used to call a bar ditch.
Could
I'm
you
not familiar
define?
with that term.
It's a drainage, it's a
Yeah.
drainage by the side of a road or a drainage ditch
Thank you.
or a retention pond.
Yeah, so to answer some of Denny's questions, the city will be maintaining the channel. There is a funding mechanism through the overall subdivision, special or specific planning area. So, yeah, that'll be maintained in perpetuity by the city and paid for by the residents of this area
Okay.
that's developed.
Any other public comment? Motion? Discussion?
I'll move to adopt Resolution 2026 PCR3 and recommend to the Board of Supervisors approval of MPA 2026-0005 as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Pizzell, seconded by Commissioner Crone. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. 6E. Discussion and possible action regarding a resolution approving the master plan amendment and recommended approval of the amendment to the Board of Supervisors to change the master plan designation for public, quasi-public to high-density residential for a .42 acre parcel located at 1405 Lapeer Drive, APN 010351-14. Oh, Heather Ferris.
Yes, Heather Ferris for the record. The subject parcel is located on the south side of Lapeer Road, approximately 800 feet from its intersection with Fairview Drive. The parcel is .42 acres in size, vacant, privately owned, and zoned multifamily apartment. Prior to the adoption of the 2025 master plan, this parcel, as well as all of the parcels that are now designated as high-density residential on this slide, were designated as mixed-use commercial on the master plan land use map. With the 2025 update, these parcels were all supposed to be redesignated as high-density residential. However, the subject parcel was inadvertently designated as public, quasi-public, actually creating an inconsistency with the multifamily apartment zoning. The public, quasi-public designation is intended for properties that are owned by a governmental entity or properties that serve the public interest through civic, educational, essential services, or some other means. Since this parcel is privately owned and has zoning designation of multifamily apartment, the public, quasi-public designation is not appropriate. And as I already noted, it was mistakenly applied. The proposed high-density residential designation will create consistency with the existing MFA zoning as well as the surrounding properties, and it will align the property's land use designation with the fact that it's privately owned. There are 5 findings of fact that the Planning Commission must make in the affirmative in order to recommend approval of the master plan amendment to the Board of Supervisors. We have made all of those findings, and we are recommending approval. I did receive one written public comment from Mr. Crow, essentially noting that he's opposed to the property being used for anything other than open space. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Has the property owner, I know he's been notified, but as you've talked to him, is he?
I actually had email correspondence with him, and he seems to understand what we're doing and doesn't have any issues.
Okay, Commissioner Pizzell, our commissioner, I'm going to Crone. What you get for being gone?
That's what I get for being gone.
Put my hand up, aren't you?
Did you have any communication with Mr. Crow by chance?
I did. I
Oh,
talked to him on the phone and also provided him with an email, kind of giving him a little bit of a summary of what we talked about, so.
Okay.
Commissioner Pazell.
Yeah, Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is changing the master plan land use nation on the property itself. The property itself is currently zoned to allow for residential development.
That's
So if
correct.
the applicant came forward with an application to develop the property for a multifamily development, the city would be required to give it because under the current zoning, it allows for that, and the zoning regulates the uses. This master plan is just a guiding document. It doesn't have the force of a zoning ordinance.
That is correct.
But I think it would be hard to put a multifamily in a quarter of an acre. You could probably do it.
I think Mr. Brooks or Commissioner Brooks would call it a design
Challenge.
problem. Yeah, challenge. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments to staff? Is there any public comment?
My name is Kevin Crow. I'm the property owner, 4041 Lapire Drive, the adjacent property.
Could you say that again so we could get it?
My name is Kevin Crow. I live at 4041 Lapire Drive, which is the
Okay.
next property. If you go back to the first picture with the drawing, that one there, the property is contiguous right there with the open space. It's part of the open space. In fact, you see the trail going up to the top of Muffet Summit. If you put a residential building there, you'll get a perfect view of that from the observation bench. So it's in direct visual alignment for the, if you look from the observation bench that's already there. So that's my concern. You have beautiful open space area. Many people use that property. Many people walk through there and enjoy that whole open space. And I'm concerned about it becoming high-density residential. It's a very small piece of property. They'll put a multi-story building there, and it'll totally obstruct the observation bench from the summit there. And that'd be my concern for that. Thank you, by the way. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
He made it easy. Denny French, Carson City, ditto.
Okay. I guess my comment would be, we don't legislate views or what people do with private property. I would probably suggest that if the homeowners out there want to keep that as open space, they buy it. So that would solve their problem. Any other discussion? Is there a motion?
Sure.
Commissioner Pazell.
I move to adopt Resolution 2026 PCR-2 and recommend to the Board of Supervisors approval of MPA 2026-0006 as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner DeChristopher. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay. Item 6E, MPA 2026-006, discussion and possible action regarding a resolution approving a master plan amendment and recommending approval of the amendment to the Board of Supervisors to change the master plan designation from public, quasi-public, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one, aren't I? Sorry. MPA 2026-0007. Okay, the feature of the night.
I took the easy one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Discussion and possible action regarding the resolution removing a master plan amendment and recommending approval of an amendment to the Board of Supervisors to change the master plan. One, text of policy DTMU 1.6 by removing reference to the state office complex expansion. And two, text of the policy 6.3B by removing the state office complex from the downtown character area. And 3, exhibit of the downtown character area map by removing the state office complex from this map. Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I go into the comments I prepared, I just want to speak to something that just came up at the last comment because I want to clarify it. There was a slight discussion about the zoning being regulatory versus the master plan being a policy document. And I think it's really important to understand that relationship. And I don't want there to be a perception that because something's in a policy, it doesn't feed into regulatory decisions, because that's simply not the case. In the item you just had, there was discussion, well, the zoning is multifamily residential, I think is what it was. Therefore, they could build multifamily in that zoning despite the master plan. That's a true statement. And the reason it's a true statement is because the construction would be a ministerial permit versus a discretionary permit. When you have discretionary permits, as you know, because discretionary permits are things like special use permits, you have findings of fact. And in those findings of fact, you have a requirement to find consistency with the master plan. So there are times when the zoning takes you back, if it's not ministerial, it's a discretionary permit, takes you back to your policy document for compliance. So I think that was it was a sort of a statement to the effect of, oh, well, you can do it despite the master plan. And I just want to make it clear, the master plan actually can be a pretty powerful player when you look at land development. With that said, on December 16th, as I alluded to, I'm going to stay right there. The Planning Commission reviewed the master plan annual report. During that meeting, the state provided late material requesting to have the state land removed from the downtown character area map and to remove the state office complex from the downtown mixed-use policies. The Planning Commission did not include the state's request in its recommendation to the board. On January 6, 2026, the Board of Supervisors considered the Master Plan Annual Report. During that meeting, I advised the Board of Supervisors what the recommendation of the Planning Commission was. I also advised the Board of Supervisors that the state had made a request. I explained what that request was. And I advised the Board of Supervisors that the Planning Commission did not include that request in the annual report. And again, you can think of the annual report a little bit as a to-do list. The Board of Supervisors had a discussion, and they did decide to include the state's request in its resolution, initiating a number of amendments to the master plan. So again, the resolution of initiation is like filing an application. The Board of Supervisors said, no, we should go ahead and have the hearings on this and consider it. As Heather mentioned, I can go through the substance. The substance, again, is we look at some policies that in the downtown mixed use that reference the state office complex, and the request would be to remove the reference to the state office complex. Here again, in another 6.3, talking about downtown character area, there's a description of the state office complex, so that would be removed. And the area that is east of Stewart Street, south of Little Lane, would be removed from the downtown character map exhibit. And on this, you can see the outline. It's usually light blue, but it's not coming up as light blue here. And it would be, oh, maybe Heather got rid of that. Good. Wow, impressive. Okay, Heather did this PowerPoint. It's my first time seeing it, so thank you, Heather. And so she shows that we would remove the reference to the state office complex, and we would remove the area outlined in red from the downtown character area map. So that's the substance of the request. So as Heather said in the last item, when you consider a master plan amendment, any master plan amendment, you have to look at 5 findings of fact. And I've reviewed these 5 findings of fact in the staff report. The first is you're looking for substantial compliance with the objectives, policies, and action programs of the master plan. I have my master plan here, and I kept it open to the vision. And I thought that was really important because when we were doing the master plan, I think one of the last things we did was the vision. And when we did the vision, the role of being a state capital was really important. And I'm going to read the vision. The vision is Carson City is a community proud of its past and confident of its future. We take pride in our role as a state capital and offer a balanced community with housing, employment, education, shopping, and recreation opportunities. We value productive collaboration between the residents, businesses, partner organizations, neighboring municipalities, and state and federal agencies to engage in opportunities and challenges that affect our quality of life and a sense of community. We also have throughout the plan comments about the retention and expansion of major employers. And we talked a lot during the master plan about the state as an employer in our community. So when I look at this request to be removed from the downtown area, which is essentially what the request is, I think the importance of being a state capital is still intact. I think the importance of supporting large employers is still intact. I don't think the removal from the downtown compromises that. And I saw there was a lot of public comment that did not agree with me on that point, and that's okay. But I wanted to expand that because I felt like the role of the state capital and the role of the state in Carson City was more than just the physical location. And I think the continued presence of the state as an employer in our city and the partnership that we're striving to have is still, we can make that finding. Finding number 2 talks about land uses that are compatible with existing and adjacent land uses. I was able to make that finding in the affirmative, and I did that because you had a building at the landfill earlier. And you might think to yourself, why are we looking at a building in the landfill? And Brian Walker's here, and he and I had a conversation about why is it that these state buildings need a special use permit. And my answer to him and what I'll say to you is whenever we have public facilities, we don't know what we're getting. You might get an office building. That's pretty nice. But you might get a wastewater treatment plant. You might get a prison. You can get all these things that nobody really thinks about because the public sector does things the private sector doesn't do. And you can have some pretty big impacts. You can have a landfill, right? And so because of that, any land that's designated as public is subject to, or has a zoning designation public, is subject to a special use permit. And that's why you just had the item on the landfill. That's why a few meetings ago, you saw a special use permit from the state, because we don't know what it will be, and we want to look at it for compatibility. So when we look at the findings for the master plan change, and finding number 2 about compatibility, because this is public land, I know there will be a special use permit, and that will mandate the compatibility, which is why I'm making that finding. Finding number 3, I'm going to save. Finding number 4 talks about the proposed amendment is consistent with the desired pattern of growth for orderly physical development. I can make that finding. This is infill. It's not, we're not looking to designate land for some high density on the fringes of the community outside the urban service boundary. That would be an example where you were contrary to the desired pattern of growth. And then lastly, does it violate the provisions of NRS or CCMC? No, this proposed amendment will not violate the provisions of NRS or CCMC. So now we get to finding 3, and this is where I'm stuck. Finding 3 says the proposed amendment identifies or addresses a change in condition that's occurred since the master plan was adopted by the board, or the amendment will provide a more desirable use of land. The master plan was adopted on May 1st, 2025. In preparing the master plan, we did have meetings. Commissioner Preston was in the meeting with the administrative branch of the state government, and Commissioner DeChristopher was in the meeting with the legislative branch of the state government. So we did reach out to the state, both the legislative branch and the administrative branch. We did solicit their input. I have not seen anything come in or heard something that gives me the opportunity to advise you that finding 3 can be met. That said, we may hear something today. We may hear something when you call on the public. And I recognize that may happen, and I want you to recognize that may happen. But that is where I am. So if you, after taking public comment, find you can make all five, or all, yeah, my numbers are wrong, sorry about that, all 5 findings of fact, then I have prepared actually Heather did it for me, a resolution for you where you can make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to amend the master plan as proposed. Otherwise, I will advise the planning or the Board of Supervisors. Again, you're making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. So if your recommendation is to not amend the master plan, I still go to the Board of Supervisors and I just carry that message forward. Thank you.
Okay. In the documentation that we were provided, it shows a phase 1 and a phase 2. The phase 1 that's on here was not the phase 1 that we originally saw because there are more buildings on it, I believe.
I believe you're referring to late material that was submitted by the State Department of Public Works.
Yep.
So I'm going to I'm not going to interpret their exhibit for them. I'll let
Okay.
them interpret their exhibit.
Okay. Well, I think one of the things that we asked them to do is to provide us with their master plan. And there's still nothing that we've seen that goes south of Little Street or Little Lane on the last section of this property that they're asking us to take out of the master plan. And I have a problem with that, you know. Yeah, from Little Lane south. Commissioner Pizell?
Yeah, I hope, thank you for clarifying what I stated in the previous application. You're absolutely correct. And I appreciate that. My concern as one of the planning commissioners is I haven't heard or seen anything that states why the state feels they should be removed and why they don't want to participate or be in compliance with those policies as part of the master plan. Even before when they submitted the late material and now. So, I mean, that's my concern, and hopefully, like you say, maybe they'll present something tonight that provides that clarification and is a good and clear reason as to why they should, these amendments should be forwarded.
Commissioner DeChristopher?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think what came to mind for me going back through these findings is, in addition to what Commissioner Pizell is saying, we don't know the outcome of the meetings that were going to take place between our city manager, Glenn Martell, and I believe you, Mr. Lewis, and perhaps others from the governor's office or your architectural team. And I know, if I understood it correctly, it was to address public safety concerns or safety for the employees, both, which I completely understand, some of which can be spoken to and addressed this evening. But that will be helpful information. But absent that, I feel like we're still waiting for a reason to understand why we can't work collaboratively on the things that we brought up, which I know they had varying degrees, little ask, big ask, but I think we should be able to work together. We've been able to collaborate with others that are working on master plans, and that's one of the beauties of being in the state capitol. And to Hope's point, we reached out early on, and we'd like to be able, similar to towns that are university towns, you have that town and gown relationship. I continue to hope that we can have that relationship with the state government.
Commissioner Preston?
There's one thing that I'm kind of lost on. I remember seeing something in the last little bit, but it's been kind of a blur. But it actually had some green spaces with some little red X's. Do we have anything like that in our reports? Because that was a drawing that we were given that said how this was supposed to be to look with the interior the interior areas, but it was it was very rudimentary. It was green and red and just had the area, but it showed like the interior grass plazas, and it had some other things, because I'm not seeing it in this packet at all. And I remember seeing this somewhere in the last week or so. And it's not here, but at the same time, it's what I saw it. I looked at it and thought, that's kind of strange. That didn't seem like a really professional depiction of what the Capitol will be looking at. So that was my first question is, did I see that, or am I crazy?
It's entirely possible that you saw something like that as associated with the special use permit application that the applicant may have submitted. What I'm working on is the master plan amendments, and I asked the applicant for information to support the request for the master plan amendment, and I've provided to you what was provided to the staff. The applicant can certainly discuss the exhibit you're talking about if that's something they're familiar with, if they feel like that helps address the findings.
Well, this is not a discussion again of the master plan submission that they gave us.
We're
We've-
discussing the master plan, not the special
their
use
special
permit.
use permit that they
You're
gave
correct.
us.
We are not looking at the special use permit right now. We are simply, just like you had 3 different master plan amendments, right,
Yeah.
that you just reviewed without considering development of that land. That's what you're doing now.
Commissioner Crone?
One of the other concerns I've had is we've heard a lot, and also the public comments that were received, that we've received in writing, talk a lot about the character of the town, being a small town and a small character. What I'm concerned about is that if this area is removed, and if you look, can you go back to the overall plan where it shows phase 1 and phase 2, please, for me? Oh, you don't have that electronically? Okay. If you look at it, there's a fairly significant percentage of the area identified in the downtown. So it's a fairly large area we're talking about. And I think it's important from a collaborative perspective to realize that there are people in this town who were involved in the master plan process that really want to, as well as the commission, felt that it was important to move forward with the idea of keeping Carson City a small town, that small town character, that small town feel. And I'm just concerned that if these areas are removed from that, what, if you will, what would then propose the state to help us collaborate with that? So I see this as a way to help everybody kind of come together by keeping it in the downtown plan, by everybody coming together and working together to help create that downtown, small town character feel. Otherwise, I don't know what we're going to get. And maybe that can happen through the special use permit process. I'm not quite convinced that it can.
If this is removed from the downtown character area map in the reference to the state office complex is removed from the policies relative to the downtown character areas, it would not be appropriate to apply those policies to this area.
Well,
So then, excuse me,
Go ahead.
so then following up then is if a project did come forward, we would see it similar to what we saw what started this whole thing back in November when they came forward with the one specific project. So would that be, as the project moved forward, will we be seeing bits and pieces of special use permits if it's not kept within the downtown character aspect of things?
I think I got lost a tiny bit, but let me try.
Sorry.
Let me try. In the downtown, okay, the master plan paid a lot of attention to the downtown.
Yes.
And the 2006 master plan paid a lot of attention to the downtown. It wasn't just the 2025 master plan. We kept that. And because of the importance of the downtown in Carson City, there are a number of policies related to development in the downtown. And I'll pick on the Bank Saloon. Bank Saloon, there's a parcel behind the Bank Saloon. It's its own parcel. It's not the old Jack's Bar parcel. and the Bank Saloon wanted to build a parking lot there. I don't remember what was there before the parking lot. Might have just been dirt. And so when Aaron West at that time came forward and said, we want to build a parking lot, what we had to do was look at what are the standards in the downtown. And they have a decorative fence along the, is that Fourth? I don't remember what street that is. Right. But it's a decorative fence along the parking lot because there were certain standards you had to do. So in the downtown, there are certain standards. It talks about the pedestrian orientation, so on and so forth. If you have a piece of land, any piece of land that happens to be subject to the downtown policies, what you do as part of your review, and again, if it's discretionary, you're looking at your master plan, is you're applying those policies. If you have a piece of land that is not within the downtown, say it's out on Highway 50 or it's North Carson Street, you wouldn't even consider those standards because it's not in the downtown. So what the state folks have asked for is they said, please remove us from the downtown. We don't want to be subject to those design standards associated with the downtown. So would we still do a review for the special use permit? Yes, we would. But just like if the property was on North Carson, the idea of the downtown policies would not even be discussed because they wouldn't be applicable. So I hope that answers.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry I wasn't as clear, but no, they did a very nice job. Thank you.
Commissioner Preston.
Okay. When we talk about the state office complex itself, are we including legislative branch, the judicial branch, and the administrative branch, executive branch, right? We're looking at it as a whole instead of the three different branches, correct?
I'm about to double check, but my recollection is there's nowhere in the master plan where we distinguish one branch of the state government from a different branch of the state government.
I think the thing that's kind of thrown me off is a couple of months ago, the legislative branch of the state government came in here, asked for a special use permit, said that they looked at the master plan, they agreed to everything, and we were out of here in 45 minutes. So, I mean, that's what I'm kind of lost on when we're looking at the state as a whole, because I've actually had people come to me and say, what's your problem with the state? We have no problem with the state. The one group said, this is it. We looked at the master plan and we went forward and it was easy. And I think we gave compliments on the buildings and what they were doing. And they have a parking garage and everything that has these same elements, except for the design was not as we had requested. So that's, I think, where I want to make sure that it's not differentiated between the three parts of government.
I can answer that question now, and no, the references in the master plan do not differentiate the legislative branch from the administrative branch from the judicial branch.
And my concern, Hope, is in this last section down here. If we go ahead and recommend to do this, everything from Little Lane South, which is part of their state office complex, which goes down past the DMV. We've advocated any kind of anything on that land, it would seem to me, and we don't have any idea what the plan is.
I think your comments are interesting, and I hear what you're saying. I think probably it's a good time to pause and let the public speak and see what you hear, and then continue your dialogue as a commission.
All right. Is there any public comment?
It's Sandra Owens. So as a resident and business owner and also someone who actually participated in the master plan process and attending the meetings, I wanted to speak to this because it's like I was really excited to see those houses go down. It's been such an eyesore there. But then hearing this, it was just I genuinely can't understand why, as a city, we would spend 2 hours of our time. 2 years of our time public input, professional planning work, taxpayer money to create a master plan with a clear vision of the downtown area, only to begin carving out exemptions within the first 6 months of adopting it, especially for one of the largest projects proposed to the downtown core area. So the master plan wasn't just aspirational wallpaper. It was meant to be applied equally to all applicants, all developers, all entities. If the plan can be amended simply because a project doesn't align with it, then the plan just loses its meaning and all the work and the money that we put into it. The state has said it wants to collaborate and that it respects the master plan, but collaboration requires give and take. What we have before us tonight is not a design revision or a compromise. It's a request to be removed from the downtown mixed use policy entirely, which as it takes away our power. So with no public rationale provided and no design changes offered to respond to the concerns that you guys raised in November and December, that matters. The state was not an afterthought during the master plan process. It was a primary agency partner from the beginning. Nothing about the state's roles, needs, or status has changed since the plan was adopted in May of 2025. So if we grant this exemption now, what precedents are we setting moving forward for other developers and other parts of downtown? Because, realistically, downtown does belong to everyone here. The residents made it very clear during all of those meetings, the master plan revision process, that Carson City's charm and character and historical identity really mattered. And, the people choose to live here because they love Carson City. They're not looking for that big city feel. So if the master plan is tested, I think it should be tested by being applied, not by being amended away. And we should, maybe use the other processes to accommodate their needs, but we really shouldn't compromise all the work that we've put into it, and what the community had, the input that the community has put into this plan.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Now, another person made it very easy for me, but the commissioners, as you are sitting and listening, and your input suggests that this is not anything that we can project ahead because we don't even have a set idea what they're considering. We know they need a parking garage or they need this or this, but the design and the characters. I'd like to refer back to Kathleen Baisley's statement. She's lived here just a short time. She doesn't want it to just be Reno or Las Vegas or such, and the character of this community is very important to her. It is to me. I'm not a native. I didn't come here to be in Las Vegas, or I would be there. Or if I wanted to be in Reno after my parents passed, I would be there. This area is very important. I don't want to give that up. They're already set into this. Until more information and consideration, they can put in a special whatever after, but don't change it. It's set where it is. They can work around it. If they can't, then I'm worried about them. And that consideration, that collaborative, is missing. You've already been left out of a lot of the process. And I just don't want to have us get willy-nilly down there and change the character to the point that not recognizable anymore, even the functional aspects, which are needed. But don't mess with this right now. You don't have enough information in at what Hope has suggested. I looked in the minutes of the conversations that were about this subject, and it was a lot that you put ahead to them, but they haven't really provided. Thank you very much.
Denny, you have signed in, right? Push the button until it turns green.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to hold it. Just make it. There you go.
Okay.
Now start
Paul-
again.
Okay. Paula Peters, Carson City resident. And I had a few things to say, but it's pretty much been covered. But I guess my personal input is our downtown is very special. When people come to visit me, they want to go to Tahoe, they want to go to Genoa, and I take them downtown and they're amazed. It's beautiful. And if we start having all these institutional government buildings pop up, it's going to change the character. And I just think it'd be a real mistake to lose the downtown because that is what Carson City has. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Nope. You had 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Talk fast.
Jeez Louise. Good evening. I'm Administrator Will Lewis with State Public Works Division. I have with me Deputy Administrator Brian Walker. I'm going to try to say this real quickly and succinctly so that you can understand the vision of what the package that we put in front of you guys so that you can make a decision. You got a decision. One is a resolution and the other one is the master plan. We're not talking about the master plan. We're not talking about the project. We're talking about the resolution. That's what you have before you. But I want to talk a little bit about the master plan because there have been so many questions and so many issues raised. I want to thank you for the opportunity, but just to clarify, in your packet, the state master plan that we're presenting tonight has the approval of the state registrar's office, the legislature, the State Public Works Board, along with state agencies that will be directly impacted by these buildings that we're proposing. So thank you for the opportunity to present. I want to talk a little bit about connectivity. And what I'm going to highlight, I want to show the commissioners that we have been paying attention and that we are trying our very best to check as many boxes of your character map as possible. Connectivity. Our master plan features a park-like mall that will connect Carson City's master plan to the town square that the city right now is currently developing. And we're having ongoing meetings with the city public works and my public works staff to make sure that all of the projects that we're doing that impact downtown Carson is not only successful, but that we complement one another. We're not doing anything in a vacuum. The central green and walkable layout of that master plan that we have in front of you, that design is to provide a continuous green space establishing a park-like link between the buildings to create walkable connectivity throughout the campus. The open space mall will support informal gathering as well as improve wayfinding and encourage interaction between state agencies as well as citizens of Carson City who wish to take advantage of the pedestrian walkways and gathering spaces of our master plan. A direct connection to the City Hall is another feature. You're going to see there's a green area that we have a diagonal pedestrian walkway that connects directly to City Hall to show the connectivity between our development and what the city is proposing. I'm going quickly. I had so many more things I wanted to say. Next, we're all about the small town feel. Our master plan, we plan on implementing landscape features that promote human interaction. We're using local and indigenous plants that, along with a combination of both desertscape and artificial turf that will conserve water, as well as have a lessening financial impact on the state as well as the city. We also, in our master plan, we're looking at incorporating walk paths, bicycle routes, public bus routes, as well as accessible curbs for people with disabilities so that everyone can take advantage of this mall-type area. We're also proposing vehicular charging stations for staff as well as possible for public use in the future. And then when you talk about our public, I know a lot of people had a negative attitude about parking. Well, our parking garage throughout that master plan, we're locating it in key locations to minimize surface parking and support a pedestrian-oriented campus core. We also talk, in our master plan, we're trying to incorporate respect for the existing infrastructure. We have certain buildings like the Bryan building that you guys are talking about further to the south. That building is already in place. We want to enhance that design. So I'm sorry we didn't include it in the master plan, but that is part of our master plan. That's our property. In the fire station, as well as the government technology building, all of those, we want those services to continue without disruption because it's critical to us as a state. And then we have some historical buildings, the gymnasium, the armory building. Those buildings we're going to continue to keep and work with SHPO so that we can keep the vernacular and the character of downtown Carson. Our main thrust, and I'm going to say this off for the record, is we want to be able to make Carson or add to Carson City as a unique destination with its unique landmarks, and we want to work with the the existing vernacular downtown. So our master plan is to, again, enhance, certainly not to disrupt. And then finally, in my last thoughts, I just want to, give me a minute.
Hurry up.
Oh, yeah, I know. In my last thought, I just want to say that the state of Nevada is one of the biggest employers in the city of Carson. We know that. And we're talking about bringing more jobs that's going to economically impact Carson. Those jobs are going to create opportunities for businesses as well as residents to be able to take advantage of that. And in the meantime, when you look at our overall master plan, we want to continue to partner with the city. So again, this is, I'm condensing it, guys. There's so many more things I wanted to say about that master plan that's in front of you, but I'm gonna turn it over to Brian to talk a little bit about his thoughts.
3 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Will. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Brian Walker, Deputy Administrator for the State Public Works Division. So I'd like to take my time to talk a little bit about our process and how we arrived at today's discussion. So State of Nevada periodically updates its capital complex master plan. The most recent update was in 2022. The plan focused on future office space needs in Carson City, and that plan showed that the state currently leases over 700,000 square feet in Carson City. So a key recommendation from that plan was to transition employees into state-owned space where possible. I'd like to also to talk and say, the 2022 master plan follows decades of state planning that has the same vision. We've envisioned state office buildings surrounding a central mall. This master plan in 2022, we previously sent to Carson City staff and also your consultant as your master plan was being developed. As a result of the master plan, the Department of Administration moved on this and by requesting a State Capital Improvement Program or CIP request in spring 2022. That request followed a lengthy process that included recommendations by the State Public Works Board and the governor in fall 2023 and was funded by the 2023 legislature through Assembly Bill 1 in summer 2023. So we go through this public process in every project approved in the State Capital Improvement Program. This design started, stopped, and was changed by the State Interim Finance Committee in September 2024, and we started designing the currently proposed buildings and parking garage in spring 2025 that you've seen. So the reason I'm saying that is it's important to note that the city's master plan was adopted in May 2025. We learned in December 2025 that the city intends to amend the master plan text to show how the term jurisdiction is handled. In response, we requested to be removed from the downtown character map. We believe that is the change of condition required by finding 3. So removing the capital complex from the downtown character map provides flexibility for the state to develop this area as outlined in the state master plan. I'd like to remind the commission that the Carson City Master Plan Section 6.3D recognizes and encourages support of the state's master plan. Removing the capital complex from Carson City's master plan acknowledges the state's unique role as a separate public body with its own authority having jurisdiction, or AHJ, in contrast to other private property owners and developers. It's our position that the downtown character requirements prevent the state from developing the capital complex as identified in our master plan. That's why, when Carson City proposes to change how jurisdiction is handled, we requested the capital complex be removed from the downtown character map. So having said that, it's our intent to work collaboratively with Carson City on current, this project, future projects to ensure compatibility with Carson City. This request is not an attempt to be removed from the due public process. So I'm out of time. So as we covered a lot quickly, I thank you for your time and we're ready for your questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment? You already had yours. No, it's public comment.
Mr. Chair, I hear what Mr. French is saying, and I understand what you're saying. I think we continue with this item, and you and Michaela can touch base after the meeting, if that's okay? Right, I understood what you were saying, so I'll let you and Michaela speak after the meeting, or I can speak to you, but I think the commission, unless there's more public comment, can continue discussing this item.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And the things that you have said from my standpoint are things that we've all agreed to beforehand. This thing all started with the fact that we were trying to get your design to fit our square hole, and your triangular peg didn't fit. And it just seems like instead of sitting down and trying to figure a way to make a round hole work, all we got was, let's move it up, and pretty soon we'll just take it away. And I don't think that's very collaborative. If you look at the two phases that you've got in here, phase 2, which is existing, is pretty much what we wanted phase 1 to look like. But you all flipped the script when we first started this about how the parking lots were arranged and where things were. And all we wanted to do was to see if there was some continuity that we could find to make that work. And we didn't get it. The planning commission didn't get it. Somebody may have gotten it, but we didn't get it. And I think that's where the frustration is. Commissioner Peterson.
This question is for Hope and staff. If we move on staff's recommendation for denial and it goes to the Board of Supervisors, can they override us and still allow these guys to exit out of the master plan?
The short answer is yes, the decision rests with the Board of Supervisors. You're a recommending body, and the Board of Supervisors is authorized to amend the master plan. There's a little bit of due process there, but I won't get bogged down in that. I want to say something about the first thing you said. And you said if we follow staff's recommendation for denial, you have, and I say this occasionally, I haven't said it lately, I don't think, but I've said this for probably 30 years. The staff has a set of facts, and when we put forward our staff report, we're giving you our staff report based on the facts as we understand them and as we anticipate them. The Planning Commission gets a bigger set of facts because you get the benefit of public comment. Those letters that you had in late material, the staff report was out when those letters came in. The public comment you received tonight, both pro and con, staff didn't have the benefit of that public comment. So you have a larger data set than the staff gets. Staff makes its recommendation based on a limited data set. So I think what would be best is based on the public comment that you read and that you heard, that you look at the findings of fact and you independently determine if you've heard anything that can help you make the findings. And if you haven't, the answer is no. But if the answer is yes, the answer is yes. But I think that's the discussion at this point.
Thank you. A couple other topics really quickly. So if we do deny and the Board of Supervisors deny as well, are there concessions or some middle ground that we can find with the state that they give us a couple of elements that make it a little more acceptable to visually being pleasing with our downtown? Yeah, I mean, I understand that their plans are already pretty much.
We're not at the SUP stage now.
Right. I'll go back to what the information I provided to Mr. Cron. When you consider a special use permit, you're looking at master plan consistency. And when you look at master plan consistency, you look at those policies of the master plan that should be incorporated into a design or into a use. So I'll leave it there.
Mr. Pizzell?
Thank you. I still go back to my previous statement. I still don't understand what their conflict is with the policies within the downtown, within the city's master plan as adopted in December of 2025. It would be lovely to know what the conflicts are from the state's point of view. But at this point, I don't know what those conflicts are.
Commissioner DeChristopher?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I guess that's what I still struggle with. I very much appreciate the timeline that Mr. Walker provided. That did provide some context to it. But I think one of the things I'm hoping that they'll understand is everything that you said definitely makes me feel more comfortable as a planning commissioner saying, yeah, right, and understood all the other benefits. But it's the thing of, okay, then why can't it be articulated? Why not? If we're so compatible, I still don't hear the answer as to why you have to exit from the city master plan. And, you know, perhaps this is the easiest way to explain it. It reminds me of relationships, right? We've got the city and the state, and we're in a relationship, but the state won't give the city a ring. It's symbolic, and we want to know why. But we can't break up with you. That would do no one any good, right? So we're asking for the ring? I don't know.
Commissioner Preston?
There were a couple of things that I found kind of interesting, and I think these are going to be the points that after sitting in all of the meetings, including sitting with the executive branch, sitting in that meeting, sitting in all of the meetings during the listening tour, the times that we sat with the Board of Supervisors and so forth, one thing that keeps coming up to me, especially considering I'm on deck next door, and today I had a meeting with the directors of the Chamber of Commerce, and there seems to be a lot of misconception. And I think something that's really important is what we have seen is you alluded to the Carson City's City Hall plan. We have yet to see it. It's a barrel of air. It has not been presented here. We're glad you know about it more than we do. This right here, you've presented to whoever it is with the city plan to work with. But again, it has not been presented as a plan. It has not been brought forward. So essentially, and we used to talk about this in business all the time, talk is cheap, and basically we have a barrel of air. That's it. And to try to go ahead and say, okay, this is what we want, this is what we're going to do, and therefore we're going to pick up our toys and go home, and we don't want to be a part of your plan, but yeah, we are. I'm with Commissioner DeChristopher. Put a ring on it or don't. I don't know. I'm lost. I'm really lost. Are we going to be collaborative here? We reached out to you when it came down to the master plan. And we actually met with you, sir. Mr. Rob? Yeah. We met with you, Charlie Donahue. We met with, State Land, said, what do you want to do? Do you have any plans? You're talking about, this happened in 2022. We were in those meetings. Had there been a change, it would have been nice to have a call to say, hey, let's revisit this. But there wasn't. And we made it very clear to the state that, yeah, this is something that we wanted to be collaborative on, that this was all part of it. And again, I go back to, we approved something a couple of months ago in 45 minutes. And these guys didn't say, we want to do something different. They said, hey, we want to go ahead and work with you. So, I don't know. I think that if we were dating, my mom would say, I think this is not the person for you. So I don't know. We have heard the people here. We've put so much into it. We've looked at so many different municipalities. And I found my thing with the little X's on it that I was looking for. And the little X's are the same thing. It's a little bit more elaborate than what you said last time, but it's certainly not clear here as to where the parking lots are. You've made it so small. Before, the picture that we had a couple of months ago showed the parking was all in front of the buildings. These were the things we had concern of. You've given us this right here as far as the complex, and you've outlined this. You've eliminated from Little Lane South. This is not a proposal, I mean, as far as I'm concerned. So thank you for your time.
Mr. Peters?
Well, I get a kick out of the relationship analogies, you know, and I think we have trust issues. Since we're putting rings on things and, you know, dump the guy or dump her, or, you know, can we cohabitate or not? So I think now it's trust issues. I mean, if you trust us and you allow us to go forward with these stipulations and these things for our downtown core and the ideas that we have, and we trust you so that you guys say, okay, we'll play in your sandbox. We're not going to do anything ridiculous if we do get the hall pass, like higher storied, like taller buildings than what we would like to see, that kind of thing. There again, that's where we end up with a trust issue. You guys trust us, we trust you. You know, stay within our boundaries. We look at what you have and we collaborate. We kick it around. You know, we get somewhere. You know, right now we're at a dead end. We don't know, you know, if we're going to drop you off on the side of the road and tell you to catch a cab or not. So, I mean, it's kind of, that's just my look at that. We have more room to go before we get our room together. Thank you.
I'm not going to take that analogy any farther. I would like to say, before we think about voting on this, I've been a member of a planning commission, a board of supervisors, a mayor pro tem for over 25 years in different locales and in different municipalities. The one tenet that we always had to put together was the fact that the planning commissions follow the rules and the board of supervisors get to play God or make changes as to how they feel. And I think we have asked and asked and asked for information so that we can find a way to play by the rules. And I don't think we've gotten that. And so I know that the Board of Supervisors can do the things they need to do. They think they need to do, whether it's smart or not, that's their decision. And I don't have to get reelected. But I don't think we could have solved this 3 months ago if we'd sat down and took out a plot map and started moving things around a little bit to see if we could find some common ground. You'd have had your special use permit already approved and you could be moving dirt. And now we're looking at another cycle to go through. And I know your funds have been appropriated and they've been obligated. So you have to spend them. If you don't spend them here, you're probably going to have to go back and find someplace else that will let you spend them in the time frame you have. And you may not or may not be able to do that, but that's not my problem. My problem is trying to find a way to make what you want to do and all the nice words that you said, and I appreciate every one of them. That's exactly what we want. But we want it to be done in the way that this master plan has been designed as best we can. And I think just cutting out a large section of it is the wrong thing, because the next thing that happens is a project that we don't know about called City Hall is going to come in and say, well, cut me out too, because I'm going to be a government entity. And then all of a sudden our downtown area is only a half a block. And that's not what the citizens of Carson City wanted. And that's not what I think we want. And so I personally can't, I have to vote no on this. I have to adopt our resolution and take the staff's recommendations. So there any other
Um,
questions or
Mi-
comments anybody wants to make?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read the vision again, but I want to emphasize again, and I heard everything you said. The state had an opportunity to speak with the clock running. Commissioner Pizell asked the question. He said, I don't understand why they can't be in the state. And taking notes as Mr. Lewis spoke, Mr. Lewis sort of was on the offensive, I'll say, in terms of saying, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And he went on, and I wrote as fast as I could. I think with the clock running, he didn't really have the opportunity to say, and let me take a minute and explain to you why downtown doesn't work for this, why there's a change of condition, why this is a more desirable use of land. And for Mr. Walker, he focused on the timeline as opposed to responding to the findings of fact and explaining substantively why being in the downtown area would not work. So I think given that the state it's a big landowner and they're important to us. That's in the master plan. We talked about that. I think we owe it to them to ask the question and give them an opportunity to answer the question without the clock running. You would do that for other members of the public. And I would suggest you do that before you vote.
Okay. Mr. Pizell?
Yes, my question to the applicant is going to be, are you willing to continue this item to the next meeting in order to provide yourself some time that you can address the issues with finding number 3 and provide us with some information as to why you feel this entire property should be removed from the downtown corridor and removed from the master plan. I would appreciate that information greatly when I make my consideration of how I'm going to vote.
What, is there any appetite to hear more from the state? All right.
Well,
To
I
just
would,
be clear, the Board of Supervisors adopted a resolution that initiated this.
Mhm.
I am suggesting that you ask a member of the public, and it happens to be representatives from the state, a question and give them an opportunity to answer without a time clock going. Because I feel like it's a piece of information that you need, and I'm not sure that you've heard it. And they may or may not choose to answer, but I just want to be clear, they're not an applicant, but I think you would have extended this courtesy to another member of the public if you had a question.
Okay.
well, question for Hope, based on the timeline, can they have a continuance, or does the clock run out on the resolution?
I'll have to look at that, but I haven't heard the chair invite them to speak on these items.
Thank you.
So I'd rather wait and see what's happening there, and then I'll figure it out.
Thank you.
Would you like to speak on item 3?
Administrator Will Lewis, for the record, we're not prepared to talk towards any questions you may have, but again, we would be glad to field those questions and then give a response back to the commission.
Well, I guess the question is, our sticking point is item number 3, because we can't see a change in condition. Can you illuminate us on the change in condition?
So it seems, again, Administrator Will Lewis, for the record, it seemed to be the one hiccup that we have is parking in the parking lot location. Am I correct in saying that?
Generally, that was where we started. Okay.
Okay. So if you're asking when we looked at parking and creating a safe environment that could be quickly assessed and brought under control by law enforcement and by emergency staff, the scenario of landscaping, parking, landscaping, building scenario worked well for us. That model worked very efficiently for us. Everything else in that character map that was brought out, we feel we can accomplish. And through the special use permit, we would provide that data to show that we can meet those criteria. The one hiccup is the parking. So
Well,
okay,
can I ask you a question then?
yes, sir.
It's not the parking garages.
No,
It's the location
Surface
of the
parking.
building versus the street parking.
correct.
Okay, Commissioner Preston?
Okay. I'm going to bring it back to the resolution, because this is what we're looking at, the resolution, and we're looking at 5 findings of fact. And what the 5 findings of fact were outlined in this, and did you get a chance to review that? Because the finding of fact that we're having difficulty with is this: the proposed amendment identifies, addresses, and change in conditions that have occurred since the master plan was adopted by the Board of Supervisors. And the amendment will represent more desirable use of land. This is where I'm stuck, and hopefully you can help me. You started this process in 2022. I mean, in 2022 is what you indicated when you did the timeline. And then you went into the legislature in 2024. And then they approved the CPI in 2025, correct? Okay. And in May of 2025, we adopted this. We were working on this. And so this was a public document that was available to everybody, including the state, including the legislature, everybody. And what we're asking is, your plan right now is your plan. At this point, I can't even look at your little X's and stuff, because that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the resolution. Can you tell us specifically what has changed between that makes yours different, that you want to be taken out of the equation from May 1st, 2025? What changed?
Yep. Brian Walker for the record. I tried to, wow, excuse me. I tried to go through it in my 3 minutes, but I think I was going really fast. And so the change to us, and I know this is up for interpretation, you guys will take it as you will. For us, when we first read that master plan, the language and the text in there that says that the state's capital complex is outside of the jurisdiction of Carson City, when we saw that, we read that, and then we, took that as the direction that we're outside of the jurisdiction. So we always understood that we had to come to you for a special use permit as part of that due process, that's part of the city ordinance, as we're developing our project. As we went through that process, we first came and talked to you in November, and it was, clear that the downtown mixed use, was being applied to our project. We stayed the vote at that meeting. We came back in December. What happened at that meeting, we also learned, or right as that meeting was happening, we learned that Carson City intended to change the wording in the master plan to really, I guess, clarify for your terms, how the jurisdiction is handled by striking text. And so that, to us, changes how the master plan, impacts the state, in that it puts us firmly back into this jurisdiction. And I understand that was your intent all the way along, but it puts us back in the jurisdiction of the downtown mixed use. For us, that's the change in condition, because as you're changing that text, we realize you're changing that text, and that changed for us, which is why we asked for our amendment to be removed from the downtown mixed use, as you've changed that term of your jurisdiction over us.
Because one thing is that I'm confused, because we've always had jurisdiction over you guys. Last time that we did one was for the museum, for the Adventure Center, which was recently, and that's through Department of Tourism. And they had to come up before this board and make sure that everything was copacetic at that time. And it was after the master plan had been adopted. So we had that one. Again, we had the legislature. I know you guys wear different hats, but they were here and they saw it and they adhered to everything in there and they didn't ask to be removed. And I think one of the things that came out in the master plan, so please keep this in mind too, is we value you as an employer. We value being the state capital. However, state of Nevada doesn't pay land taxes and you're our biggest land user. So this is something, so you're not really putting into our roads, except for if your people pay gas. You know, we're not actually getting the revenue sources. So when we're looking at this saying, now, you know, not only do you not want to pay taxes on the land, you want to keep this big piece of land, you want to tell us what you want to do with it. And so I think that's kind of disconcerting. So there has been, you guys have been under jurisdiction all the way along. All the way along. And anytime anything comes up for the state on a state property, it comes up for the special use permit. And it always says, have you read the master plan? Are you, have you done that? And that's one of the things in the special use permit that's in there. And so when you guys first came in a couple of months ago, the question was, and I think every one of us on this board said, did you read the master plan? Because this doesn't look like the master plan. And you all said, uh-huh. So I think that's what's kind of thrown it off. But can you explain to us what the change has been from May 1st, 2025 to now?
The change is we didn't approve the SUP.
That's the only change. That's the only change. But there was no change in the master plan.
No.
No.
So I'm saying if we'd approved the SUP, we wouldn't have been here.
No. Mm-mm.
And if we could have worked out the SUP, we wouldn't be here. So it's almost like, you know, I don't like this ball, I'm going to take it home and bring another one. Commissioner DeChristopher.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just looking at this a different way, I heard what Lewis? Yes, so sorry. I heard what you said about the parking. So I'm going back to the master plan. Just a thought, there is a sentence or two regarding the thing that is the fly in the ointment, the parking. That will also be addressed in a SUP, correct, Ms. Sullivan?
It goes back to my answer to Mr. Cron. If this was a project on North Carson Street and it wasn't subject to the downtown standards and the policies associated with the downtown, we would not be looking at those policies. So my understanding, and before I answer your question, I just want to kind of underscore what Brian Walker just said, because in fairness, what he said is a correct statement to a certain extent. What the code says on page 58 on the Capitol Complex, it says the Capitol Complex is a defining feature of downtown Carson City. While it is not under the city's jurisdiction, the Capitol Complex serves as a draw for visitors and residents and so on and so forth. And you'll recall, and the board actually included this in its resolution, that actually is a misleading statement because we do have zoning jurisdiction under NRS. And so the proposed wording will correct that to clarify that we have zoning jurisdiction. So the word "while not under the city's jurisdiction" is misleading. And the board has agreed to has initiated that amendment. So I think that's what he was alluding to. So I appreciate what you said, but in fairness, that it speaks specifically to the Capitol Complex. Back to your question, if we're looking at a project that is not in the downtown, we would not apply the downtown policies to that project.
Correct. And where I was going with that, if the parking is the concern, am I correct that you might be agreeable, the state may be agreeable to staying as part of the downtown master plan if we remove the sentence that refers to parking and address it at the point that we get the SUP in front of us? Just a thought.
Administrator Will Lewis for the record. In general, yes. we would want to spend time with Ms. Sullivan with the SUP process to make sure, and that's the collaborative effort that we're talking about, that we could meet as much of the character map as possible. But again, we were under the impression that by taking us out of the master plan, as far as, I mean, the downtown, that would give us an opportunity to do that. I know she said that time and time again, so I'm being repetitive.
And I will agree with Mr. Lewis because, and you used the word town gown, which surprised me because I used that same term in a meeting with them. And you and I have not spoken about that. So that was interesting. But the first time I met with Mr. Lewis, he explained this would be like a campus. A campus is sort of, in my mind, a more isolated place, whereas something that's part of the downtown is more integrated to the community. So I see them as competing design objectives. I don't believe it's as simple as the parking personally. That said, if Mr. Lewis has numerous times in my presence talks about the landscape features that he's proposing, and we haven't seen that level of detail. And so is there an opportunity to enhance or maybe get better definition on the proposed design and keep it in the downtown? Potentially. But I think at its most fundamental level, when you're looking at a campus, by nature of a campus, you don't think of it as something that's integrated with the neighboring community.
Any other questions? Okay. Now what?
They cannot agree to continue this because they are not the applicant.
Yep.
So I can bring this to you in February, but I'd like to give them the courtesy of checking with them if I can have 2 minutes.
All right, why don't we take a 5-minute recess then? going to send out for pizza.
For the record, Mr. Chair and Glenn Martell, City Manager, as the applicant, separate aside from the public comment, I know has to be addressed, but at this time, we would just like to ask that the commission take a vote. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Because we had more testimony, we'll see if there's any other public comment at this time.
And Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
In all fairness, we have the 3-minute limitation, and today was one of those days when you offered the opportunity of unlimited public comment in time. That the same opportunity be given to the other members of the public that would like to make the comment.
Okay. Yes, you did.
Denny French, Carson City. And I appreciate every comment that you all have made, which leaves me in a position where I don't know any more information than you do, even less. And I'm thinking, if they're not going to do anything totally outrageous, why wouldn't they want to stay in it as it's stated and then work on the special use permits, decide if you want the parking lots in front of or in a courtyard or something on that line, whether or not you want to have them put artificial turf you already decided you didn't want. So that was one thing I was pretty clear on. So I would just really appreciate that these gentlemen have made their statements, and I appreciated what they said, but they don't seem to be addressing why they need to pull out of how it's written. And that is like you're saying, well, what's the problem? We have a relationship going, but you're asking for information that you haven't gotten. You're asking for clarification that you're not getting. And you can imagine where I am. I'm here. I'm embarrassed for even coming. I've been trying not to involve myself as much, but I am involved. And I want due process, and we talked about that I had missed one of the aspects of it, so I will not call special concern towards a disruption of meeting etiquette or the rules of meeting, public meeting. So that's not a problem. But I do find it very hard to understand why the state, which people appreciate, Preston, Planning Commissioner Preston mentioned, that there are benefits from having them, but then we have the misfall of the traffic that doesn't pay into our roads, it doesn't have taxes and different things like that. So there's a push-shove. But it's clear that you all want to work together. I just don't know why they're fumbling over being able to have it as it's written, work with the special permits and where things are going to go differently. Agree on your part and then put it to the supervisors. And as you said, they're in a position that you're not. But at this point, I'm very frustrated with the circumstances of the order and things being brought up about the city center and the city hall, things that I'm going, that's a whole nother ball of wax. And another, don't poke the hive type with me, because I'm very protective of this location. And the quality of life here is very important to me. So big development, I want to have some sense that they're going to follow at least some of the conscientious things that we're only asking. You all mess up, put the parking here or there, what you use, the material. I'm more into the natural aspect of it. I didn't want artificial turf because of the heat it would generate. I didn't want the issue of all windows or all cement. Those are the heat and the moving of people through places that aren't even livable during certain temperatures because of those structures. Those things are more me. But what the problem is here, I just do not get. Why can't you just let it be what you've put out as far as your statements on the agenda, figure out where you all stand on it, and go with it. You all can talk about the nuts and bolts later. We all want a car, so we know we need certain things. And I don't want to stop them from having an area that their workers can be safe or comfortable, or that this community is going to be excluded from instead of included in. I can walk up to the Supreme Court. I can go to the legislature. A campus, I don't walk on unless I get permission. And so I like to have it more inclusive, and I thought that the way it was written is fine. That would have the design, it would have the sense and the community character. Thank you very much.
Okay. You got it.
Paula Peters back again. I just wanted to comment on the building design. My friends and I thought it looked like something from the 1960s modern. And so if you exempted them, you could end up with a really inappropriate architecture for the area. So I know we talked about parking, but I'm also concerned about the way the building looked. That's all.
All right, thank you. Is there any other comment? Hearing none, is there a motion in somebody's? Yes, sir.
Is,
Go
is
ahead.
that open area, the mall, where all where the grass and open area continues, is that open to the public? Can anybody walk through there? Because they would have business perhaps in the buildings.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
so it's
not that's not what we're here for.
I understand, but I was just trying to get more clarification on campus. Danny kind of referred to like can't go to the campus unless you got permission. So you can walk through there in, on real grass maybe. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion.
I move to recommend to the Board of Supervisors denial of MPA 2026-0007 based on the inability to make finding 3 as outlined in the staff report.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0. Okay. Item 6G. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Discussion and possible action regarding the election of a planning commission chair and vice chair for calendar year 2026.
I would like to put into nomination Mr. Borders again as planning chair for this upcoming year in 2026.
I'll second.
And is there a nomination for vice chair?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Vern Cron for a second go-round as
All right, is
co-chair.
there a second?
I'll second.
All right, is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys are fun to work with. This has been a real hoot. Staff report.
Okay, I'll give the community development report. For, as of the 27th, our valuation in January was 16 million, a little more than 16 million in terms of building permits, which brings total valuation in, actually we're in 2026. In 2025, it was 251 million, essentially. Housing starts, 34 housing starts in January, 16 were single-family detached, 18 single-family attached, and we had 607 total housing starts in 2025. Historic Resource Commission is getting ready for historic, I think it's May or is it February? It's Historic Preservation Month, May. And so they're starting to work on who their award nominees will be. They also did the zoning text amendment for moving a building from one site to another in the district. It has to be a contributing building. They did their annual report and election of chair and vice chair. You know what you did tonight, so I won't go through that. Code enforcement opened 55 cases in January. They closed 82 cases and issued 19 parking tickets. We had 41 new business licenses issued so far in January. Special events, the Carson City Lights, Brewery Arts is putting on that program at Mills Park, February 5th. It will go on for a week, and then Wine Walk will be on February 7th. In terms of your next meeting, you'll have that meeting in February 25th. You're going to have the special use permit for a storage container on South Carson. We're going to have the master plan amendment for Lampa North. I told you the board had initiated a number of master plan amendments, but we didn't have bandwidth to get them all to you tonight. So that one will come forward. There will be the master plan amendment where we recognize that the state is subject to the jurisdiction of Carson City, and I'll include the NRS. We will have a text. I want to talk to you about potential text amendments for townhouses and also for parking in the redevelopment area. Right now, we don't have an ordinance that speaks specifically to townhouses, and I think that may have a linkage with what we talked about in the master plan with getting investment in sort of the tired neighborhoods, we called them. I forget what we ended up calling them. So I want to talk to you about that and whether it makes sense to initiate that, and we may have the state special use permit. And that's it.
I thought storage containers were gonna be administrative.
This is a commercial location.
Oh, okay. Commissioners, anything? Anybody? All right. Public comment. We're gonna work you out tonight. Yeah, 3 minutes this time.
Well, actually, I've stayed pretty calm. Denny French, Carson City. I just want to tell you, my reasons for being away are mixed, and I would talk to each of you independently of this meeting because I do care that you cared. I appreciate that very much. And I am very appreciative of the assistance that I was given by the council. And I try to do my due diligence. And if I'm off base, just say talk to Hope. She'll clear you up or get you online. The mayor had to clear me up a bit, but I don't have access to her, and she was sitting next to the manager, and I didn't want to interfere. I would have probably had a better understanding, but thank you very much.
Okay. Any other comment? Motion to adjourn? Second?